Hey Nick, I would I would say yeah. The proto brain, the bacterium, the prokaryotic cell, whatever the first life form was conscious. If it's alive, it's conscious, meaning it sees, it experiences um, itself. It has um, an interior space where there is something that it is like to be it. This is why I think it's important, even though it may throw a wrench into any simple explanations. I think it's important to bring this question of who into the picture, because who implies that there is this first person sense of being something or someone that can't be just replaced with or reduced to the mechanical motions of the parts. The parts and the mechanism can do its thing, and if that's all it is, there's no need for the who, for the interior experience of the parts moving, or the illusion maybe of the consciousness being capable of moving the parts rather than them just moving themselves in a deterministic gear-like way. But again, the question I am asking is what makes the first living creature with the proto brain and the light sensor and the Spirio shed at the end, what makes that aware and conscious and capable of experiencing a world? Whereas, a moment before, relatively speaking, a moment before in evolution, it was just a bunch of molecules floating around in an ocean. It self organized and became a membrane encapsulated creature with organelles inside and DNA and all this stuff and experience. So if we assume that the matter is just dead stuff, blind, mechanical, it collides and accidentally forms new patterns, if this colliding pattern forming blindness became a living cell that all of a sudden is aware, we've got a gap on our hands. In a sense, it's almost a miracle. How did this happen? How did dead stuff, the same stuff that makes this book and this cup and, how did matter become life if life is conscious? That's what I'm asking. And I'm asking it because I would like to have an answer to it, but also it's, in a sense, a rhetorical question because I don't think we can answer it. I think the only way to get around the requirement of there being just a miracle is to say that consciousness was always there. Consciousness is immanent in the material world. It doesn't mean a rock is conscious. We still have to make a distinction between an autonomous unity and just a collection or an aggregate of these unities. So an atom we can define as a unity. We can understand how it typically behaves probabilistically. We don't, since quantum physics, we can't be certain about how particles will behave because, we could say they have a degree of autonomy. They are unpredictable, much like multicellular or single cellular organisms are. You cannot predict exactly what they will do next. Um, so atoms are conscious, not conscious like human beings with language and abstract ideas and all the more complicated, abilities and awarenesses that we have. But in a very um, minimal sense, atoms are conscious, molecules are conscious, single cells are conscious, um, all the way through the spectrum of plant and animal and fungal life, conscious. Um, and you can see how a single cell has a certain type of consciousness, and then a multicellular organism has an even more complicated sense of consciousness. But never is there a gap where we have non consciousness, just dead, blind stuff, which then becomes living, aware, conscious, experiential. If there is such a gap, we need to explain it because I have no idea how that could happen. Therefore, I'm assuming what's called in modern terminology, pan-experientialism. It used to be called panpsychism, but David Ray Griffin is a philosopher who took panpsychism, which was another philosopher, A.N. Whitehead's idea, changed it into pan-experientialism to get rid of the implication in panpsychism that atoms and matter molecules have psyches. They don't have psyches like human beings. Psyche implies it's more complicated, imagistic and psychological type awareness that more complicated nervous systems have, that atoms, molecules, single cells don't. So pan-experientialism, experience is replacing psychism, to imply that it's just a very basic type of experience at the atomic level that does evolve to become more complex and more conscious, but that never lacked consciousness to begin with. So hopefully you understand where I'm going with this. The problem isn't when did consciousness start in life, it's when did consciousness start in the universe. That's what I'm getting at. If it did start, I think it started when the universe started. So let me know what you think, and we'll see where it goes from here.